I can tell you something they're not working on, and that is a supposed Switch 2.0. So obviously, when the Switch came out, I think almost uniformly amongst ourselves, our little P.A.K group, we talked about how underpowered this thing was versus other consoles. And one of the things we did talk about was potentially it wouldn't be too hard to upgrade since it was based on the NVIDIA Shield hardware. And they had released a newer version recently, or had one in the works. So it was a possibility. Well, Nintendo has come out and said, no, we're not doing this for now, at least. And what they basically said is that they're going to extend the lifespan of the console via peripherals. That's their game plan. So the quote here is, the people familiar said expanded Switch features in the coming year could also include additional network-related features and peripherals to be attached to its USB Type-C port. At an investor briefing in February, Mr. Kimishima, who's currently the head of Nintendo, the CEO, he had said that he wanted to make the Switch's product cycle longer than the 5 to 6 year span that's become customary in the video game console industry. So that's pretty much the important section of that quote here. I think this is a weird decision. There's not too many consoles I can think of where the peripherals are kind of looked upon fondly or as a core component of that particular system. Peripherals are just tend to be kind of gimmicky, and they tend to be only good for a handful of games, and they take up unnecessary space in your house, essentially, as far as I'm concerned.
I think PlayStation Move is definitely considered just kind of an afterthought. I don't know if Sony expected that to extend the lifespan of the PS3, but I'm not sure it did. So yeah, I think you have a point there. But if any company could extend the lifespan of a system with peripherals, Nintendo has the best shot of pulling it off. But
I agree.
I don't know what shape that would take, though. Like, that's hard to think about. But
yeah. So I mean, peripherals to me, you say peripherals, I think like niche stuff. Like, so for example, if you're a huge racing enthusiast, you're going to have a wheel, right? Peripheral. Right. Or if you are a huge, what's the one, the space sim? I think you were playing it, Connor. I think.
Oh, like Elite Dangerous, like
Elite
a joystick.
Dangerous. Yeah, so you might have like a joystick, and there's actually a guy that makes like special pedals.
Oh yeah.
For the game, so you can like maneuver your ship better.
Yeah, like command boards, like Steel Battalion style, just setups that take up your entire table.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think of that, but like I said, that's niche.
Yeah,
it really is.
I think like what you guys are talking about, they're kind of catering to like the hardcore whales of those games, right? Like in my opinion, you can't really play Elite Dangerous without that joystick. It's just not the same kind of experience. But like what I think of peripherals, my first thought is the Elite controller that Xbox did, where it had like the customizable pads that you can like customize how they release and have like 50 different profiles. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because my company that I work for at the daytime did some of the software for that. And they were expecting it to sell so much and change how people played the games because their controllers are now more customizable. And that's just, it sold pretty well over Christmas, and then it just stopped, right? It didn't do any of that like extension of life that people were expecting when that came out, because it was a $200-something controller.
It was so expensive. I was baffled when that one came out.
It's pretty.
It's cool. It's cool. Don't get me wrong.
But again, like who's gonna buy that, right? The person who plays a shit ton of fighting games and needs those, mechanics. And then there's an argument to say that they're cheating when they are using those things, right? And so that's the thing about peripherals that's weird. But I think you're right, Connor. Like with the Labo stuff coming out and how like quirky Nintendo is, they can go out of this world and creative for what that is. And I think another obvious one would be VR or augmented reality that could be capable with.
Yeah, which they've said they're not exploring at this time. But I'm glad you brought up Nintendo Labo, because I was going to mention it. because that, would you say Labo is a peripheral? Because it sort of is and sort of isn't, right?
Right. I was debating whether to mention it myself, but I would say because it's like extra and you have to buy it, then it starts as a peripheral.
Even though it's really just software and cardboard, and you're really using the Switch stuff that's already there, the screen, the Joy-Cons, etc. There's nothing exclusive about it outside of the cardboard. And
I would consider it a peripheral just in the sense that you're building on top of what's already. It's definitely a different kind of peripheral, like a very unique kind of peripheral, but I think it still fits in my book at least.
Yeah, I think it's one of those like not all squares are rectangles, but all rectangles are squares situation, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think if we're like talking about it in an umbrella, then yeah, it's totally a peripheral. But would you?
It's just a really weird take on peripherals, where it's yeah.
Right. But I think it's a brilliant idea as well.
It is.
So if it's like along the lines of that, I think they've got something. But 7 years is a long time, especially in technology. But Nintendo's never been the one to say we're going to have the best system with the best graphics. You know, they've never been that company. So that's.
Well, I would say actually traditionally Nintendo tends to have a shorter console life cycle than the other guys because they're always playing catch up. And if you look at like the PlayStation 2, that was a pretty long life cycle. PlayStation 2 was about 7-8 years. PlayStation 3 was also about 7-8 years, honestly. And we're 5 years into the PlayStation 4 and, of course, the Xbox One. But, of course, that's kind of been disrupted with the Xbox One X and the PlayStation Pro. I don't know what's happening with the life cycles now with that sort of weird mix-up. If you think on the flip side of things, think about Nintendo consoles. Probably the N64, I want to say, had the longest life cycle, but from the GameCube to the Wii wasn't that long, and from the Wii to the Wii U is also only about 5 years.
That felt a lot longer, the Wii to the Wii U, than 5 years.
Yeah, it didn't feel like 5 years at all. It felt more like 10. It was crazy.
10, really? I'm gonna look it up. I might be wrong.
No, I know it's not 10. It just felt like 10 because like the Wii came out when I was in high school, and the Wii U came out after I was out of college. So it just felt like a lot longer than.
Yeah, you went through a lot of life changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Wii originally came out in 2006. Was when it was when it. Yeah. The Wii U released in 2012, so about 6 years. And then I know from the Wii U to the Switch was about 5 years because it was abysmal in terms of sales.
They needed to do it.
Yeah,
they needed a new system. Yeah.
So yeah, this is, I can't say it's a risky move because Nintendo's doing well right now, but I'm a little disappointed. I would hope that they would do a refresh. You know, at least plan one.
I don't expect one this soon, but it's weird that they're not at least thinking about it. So that's definitely interesting. But like one angle of this that I actually appreciate is that I almost felt like a little slighted by Sony when they were like, "Hey, get the PS4 Pro," and I'm like, I don't want to, but okay, now you're a caveman because you don't have 4K gaming. Like, whereas Nintendo's over here saying, don't worry about a Switch 2. Like, you're good. Just keep playing just keep having fun. We're Nintendo. We just want you to have fun. So I almost I think it's an angle of like appreciating their players more. They're not like expecting them to drop money on another system to stay current.
Right.
So I kind of like that actually.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Any final thoughts before we move on, Chris?
I'm just piggybacking off of what Connor said. I think they're quirky enough and charming enough and have released a string of really good games on the Switch so far. And so, I mean, if they kind of just keep that same roadmap and, maintain that, like, out-of-this-world creativity, because I was harping on the Switch when it first came out, but now that I have one and, like, when I was sick, like, I played a ton of it, and it is a lot more portable than I expected, and playing Skyrim on a plane is something I never knew I needed. And even though we make fun of Skyrim being ported all the time, like, having that be mobile is so cool. I think, again, like, if anyone can do it really well, it's them, because those peripherals can actually be what's pushing that technology instead of the actual console.
Yeah, I would say the biggest sort of concern I have for Nintendo is, from what I've seen so far of 2018, there's nothing that's really caught my eye in terms of a release schedule, or there's no big blockbuster that I'm aware of that like I'm super excited about or is getting any kind of real buzz for now.
But they did just announce that I think some of their other games, like Super Mario Odyssey, will get like updates. Like there's I think they're going to put new areas in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
so that's
good.
different. That's also very different for them.
That is different.
So,
You start to see them, experiment more with DLC and that kind of thing. So we'll see.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks Assemble!